Good evening, YouTube. It's Wayne here again from Smith Farm Shenanigans. I wanted to do one more video. I told you guys I was going to do a video of me diagnosing my brother-in-law's heat pump. Well, turns out it was such a simple fix. I didn't even make a video on it. It was simply he had one of those new voice activated by Alexa and Google Home and all that stuff. It's pretty complicated for him, and it was for me too. But It was a simple fix. The thermostat was simply the problem. It wasn't sending remember I told you it had to send a signal out to the defroster board on the heat pump in order to get it to work. Well, his system had been set up by a previous user who kind of had it messed up. And so he went through it. We went through it. Basically, he did it himself. And he just went through the settings and he cleared the thing out and reset the factory defaults and everything started working. So I have another uh, person that commented on my YouTube channel here last couple of days, and he's been having some problems. And I'm making this video for him, and hopefully it'll help someone else. I don't know. But the first thing I always to check, he said his unit out here, I want to turn it around so you can see here. Just give me a second here. So he said his unit out here was running all the time, no matter what. He had an emergency heat inside and it was still running out here. And then after looking at the other comment he put on one of my other videos, he said that he actually saw a lot of oil out here on the ground around these lines here, these copper lines. As you can see, my insulation is gone here. I need to put some more on it. But he said he saw a lot of oil out here. See, mine's dry. That's what you want to see. Now, in the summertime, it's not uncommon for you to see some condensation through here. That's perfectly okay. That happens. But you shouldn't see oil. Another thing to know is, if you see oil, look down in your unit. Now, if you look down my unit there, you'll see ice and you'll see water. That's simply because, always remember, guys, these heat pumps have to do a lot of work when the temperature is below freezing. All right. So you should always turn this heat pump on emergency heat when it's that cold. Simply because this outdoor unit, you don't want it running all the time because it will run itself to death, basically. Always, 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 if it's below freezing, switch your heat pump over to emergency heat. It's going to cost you a little more electric bill, not that much, but it's better than burning your heat pump up. And you do that for many years, then this heat pump wears out more often, quicker than it normally would. And usually it's that compressor in there that goes bad. Right there at the end of my fingers, your compressor, that big black canister looking thing. Now, he said he had oil everywhere out here. So I want you to do, buddy, first of all, I'm sorry that you're having so much problem with your heat pump, and I pray you get it fixed. And if I can in any way help, man, I'll keep trying my best to comment and help you to fix this. But from what you've told me so far, I'm afraid your compressor's gone bad. A lot of times when those go bad, they expel all the oil. See, those things have a lot of oil in them there. That black canister, my finger down in there, they have a lot of oil in there, and when they'll go bad, they leak that out. Just to make it simple terms, everybody can understand it. They will leak all their oil out, causing the compressor to go bad, or when it goes bad, it'll leak the oil out. Either way, if that's leaking a lot of oil, 99% of the time, your compressor is either going bad, on the verge of being bad, or is bad. But most often it is bad. And especially if what happened, it runs down those lines, and those lines come out to here, see, and your oil come all the way down through here, draining down from the compressor. Now, if you want to make sure that's the problem, two things I would recommend. This is for you again, buddy. I hope you get this fixed, and this may help you a little bit, but I'm afraid you're going to have to get a professional out there, simply unless you can do it yourself, which I don't think you can. So here's what I would recommend. First of all, I don't have the gauges, or I would show you. Okay. First of all, visually inspect it. You see there's oil out here, right? So you want to go inside here, look down in here. If you see a lot, now that's water down there. You can tell the difference between water and oil. Most people can. And if that's full of oil down there, you can see it. It looks different than water. It'll have some kind of color to it, usually like a yellowish tint to it, a light green tint to it, something like that. You'll see a tint to the fluid down there. If you have to take this fan off and get down there and put your fingers on it and rub it and see if it's oil, that's okay too. Just make sure you disconnect this like I have here, okay? Always disconnect that unless you have to have it on to check the relay or something like that. Yeah, if it's got oil down in there, you probably have a bad compressor, more likely than not. But you can check to see if you're low on Freon, all right? A lot of times these systems need a refresh on Freon. And so that's what I want to talk about right now, right quick for you. And if this helps anyone else, that's great. I hope it does. This is just for my friend there that he's been having some problems. So when you take this panel off here, this panel here, we've talked about on my other videos. When you take this panel off, it'll also tell you right here on the outside of this chart. I'm going to try to get this where I can show you. It will tell you what kind of Freon this uses. So if you look here on mine, what does that say? It says R410A. That is the type of Freon that this uses. Now, in order to check the Freon that's in this, you'll have to have gauges that will read R410A pressure. There's R22. There's all kinds of Freon versions out there. We'll say it simply, types of Freon, and you have to have a gauge that'll read your Freon type. If you don't have that kind of gauge, then it's not going to read correctly, and you're going to get a bad reading. Okay, so first and foremost, mine's 410A. So second thing you'll notice is it says right over here, high pressure and low pressure. It's going to tell you the PSLG and the MPA. Now, I don't want to get into a big, long, drawn-out discussion about this. This is a little bit more complicated, but you really don't need to know that. You turn your cover over. Mine's really worn out. But on this cover, it's going to have your heat ton version, 3.5 ton. You can barely see mine there. And on that version, you're going to have a heat chart, and you'll have all these things that tells you at what temperature your Freon should read on the high pressure side. I would recommend to you to not check the high pressure side. The pros will come out, more than likely they're going to check the low pressure side. Now, if they got all day, all time in the world, they hook up some expensive gauges that cost $1,000, and they'll determine vacuum on the heat pump, how much vacuum it's pulling. They determine how much, Freon's flowing through. All these things, the temperature of the Freon, temperature of that, it tell you every bit of that stuff, and they will do that if they're not in a hurry. But usually they'll have 20 or 30 calls that day, and simply what they'll do is what I'm getting ready to show you. And they can dispute that all they want to. I know it to be true. So they'll get a gauge that matches this heat pump, right? Okay. And on that gauge, I wish I had a set here. I'll try to find some to link it for you on this video so that you can see what I'm talking about, and I'll put a little circle around what I'm talking about on the picture. So just right now I don't have that in front of me, but I will have for you. So what you're going to do is get that gauge, first of all. Now on your heat pump over here, you got what's called a high pressure and a low pressure side. Remember, we saw that up here on this cover, and it told us what the pressure should be at a certain MPA for the high pressure, and what the pressure should be for a low side at a certain MPA. Disregard that for now. Leave that for the pros. Okay, you're not a pro. You're like me. You're a DIYer. You're trying to find the simplest way to fix this heat pump today. So rent the gauges if you need to. Harbor Freight sells them. They're not that expensive. If you think you're going to keep that heat pump for a long time, it may be worth investing in for you. Or those guys will usually charge about $100 to come out and do what I'm getting ready to tell you. Somewhere between, it can vary anywhere from 75 to 125, 130 bucks to do this simple test. So what you got down here? See these two? I'm going to try to get down here where I can see better. Okay, see these two lines? The little skinny line, that's your high pressure side. What that simply means is it has more pressure. There's a lot more behind it, but we'll just discuss it this way for those guys that's going to get on here and give me a flat because I didn't tell you everything about it. You don't need to know everything about it. You just need to know this little skinny line. It's your high pressure side. And a lot of times they tell you to check the Freon right here on this little cap. See this cap? There's a Schrader valve there. You take that cap off, plug your gauges in, and you can check it there, right? Then over here it's called the low pressure side, the big line. See this bigger line? That's your low pressure side. And it also has a Schrader valve right there. Now, that's where I'd recommend checking it. And usually it'll be, and I'll link this out for you, it'll be anywhere from 50 to 70 to 75, maybe on the gauge. Okay, we won't get into terminology on that. There's no point in it. It doesn't help you none. All you need to know, and I'll show you on those gauges when I link them, I'll put a little arrow on it. If it's below, say 50, you're going to need Freon. If it's above 80, you probably want to take some of the Freon out, all right? And that's easy done. There's a valve right over there. You can eject it out. Make sure you wear a mask if you do that. And also, if you do check the high pressure side, the reason I don't recommend it, Every time you put it on this valve right here, it leaks out a bunch of Freon. When you put it on, when you take it off, because why? It's under high pressure. So, stands to reason, if you put a fitting on here as you're screwing it on, it's going to squirt a lot out. When you take it off, it's going to and after you do that 4 or 5 years, you're going to have Freon put in it just because you're checking the pressure on it, right? That's why I recommend doing it on a low pressure side. There's very little gas that leaks here, and you know it's not enough to matter, right? Check it over there, and I'll link on the gauge exactly how to do that. Um, the picture what you should look like, and remember when you check this pressure, the unit has to be running. All right. And here's what I will say to you, to the gentleman that's having the problem, that's asked me about this, and I told him I'll make this video for him. What I would say to you, if you have oil all in here, right in this area here, and all down these lines here, and all around the ground here, look down in here like I showed you at the beginning of this video and see if there's a lot of oil down in there. If they are, don't even worry about doing that check. Don't even worry about paying the guy for it. You have a bad compressor. I mean, I'm just going to be honest with you, and I hate to break the news to you. It's going to be a bad compressor almost always. Almost every single time. There is no other issue why it would leak oil like that other than the compressor going bad. So you have two options here. One, you can call an AC Pro guy, get them to come out, give you a quote and put a new heat pump in. And I can tell you right now it's going to be very expensive. There is another alternative. You can get on Facebook Marketplace and you can find these units used in really good shape. Here's the only problem about that. You've got to make them show you. A lot of times they won't either, and that's the problem. You got to make, if you don't know what you're looking at, you can get burnt, right? You can pay $500, $700 for a unit, maybe $800 a unit, bring it out here, and the guy pay somebody to come hook it up for you, and then that unit be bad too. So I would get on, if you want to go that route, find your, if the expense is a problem, which that's why we're doing these videos, because it usually we can afford these things, right? So if it's a problem for you, the expense side of it, I would recommend trying to source you a used heat pump, and source you one that somebody's going to either guarantee it in writing, not just by word. We know what that means, right? So guarantee it in writing, maybe a year. I bought one once back when I lived in another city here before I moved out here on the farm. I paid $500 for it as a little ton unit because I had two of them, two 1-ton units. It was a split level house. And the guy gave me a year warranty with it in writing, right? So you make him sign it, make him give you a year writing, because he's not going to hook it up for you. I can tell you that right now. But he will, if it's good, and he knows. A lot of these guys are guys that do it, heating units, and they take these units out of homes and they put new units in it. Knowing those units are good, they haul them back and then they sell those units, those used units. I'm not saying it's a scam. A lot of times homeowners just want a new unit, right? And they take them off their hands to get rid of them, and then they sell them for several $100s. So check, see if you can find a used unit. That'd be the best route. And find someone you know and trust in your area. I mean, I would do some good research on this that will hook this up for you and get it working. If you got oil leaking out, partner, I'm sorry to tell you, it's probably going to be your compressor. I'm going to link. I showed you how to check that Freon down there, but chances are you're like me. You do not have those gauges. I'm going to link a set of gauges to you. You can usually find those for between $70 to $100. But that's why I said it's so important that you check and make sure it's not that bad compressor. There's oil down in here. There's oil around the unit. If that's true, you probably have a bad compressor. I mean, when you leak Freon, so there's a big discussion. So these units have oil in the lines in the compressor. They have oil to keep the compressor oiled, right? And keep the reversing valve oiled and the other components. If there was no oil in that with the Freon, just like on your car, it would, over time, it would start, the condensation would cause it to rust, and it would start freezing up, right? So it would ruin it. So there's oil in those lines. But usually when you have a leak, a Freon leak, what happens is it's a very, very, very tiny hole, and the oil a lot of times won't escape as much as the Freon will. So the compressor will kick off, and it won't pump any more Freon through. It just slowly, no any more oil, but it will slowly leak the Freon out. Does that make sense? If you have oil everywhere, that means your compressor is blown out. It's ruined, and all the oil escapes out of the bottom of the compressor. Usually, what happens. It's a sealed unit, but when those go bad, for lack of a better term, it's just a simple pump that pumps Freon through, and that what happens over time. That goes bad, or the Freon leaks by it, and it goes right out everywhere. And that's when you see that kind of oil. If you see just a tiny bit of oil, it may just still be a Freon leak. But if you described in your one comment there, if it's a lot of oil out here, all the grass everywhere you said, it's going to be compressor partner, and I'm sorry to hear that. I wish I could help you with that some way somehow. And I hope that you get it fixed, and I'll be praying that you do. And find someone you trust. Try to get some, and maybe find him first and see. Just tell him, say, hey man, I don't. If you don't got a big budget, just tell him I don't have a big budget. Is there any way you could find me a good used heat pump to install for me? Those usually, you know, half the price, or they should be at least like a half the price of a new one, probably less than that. Last one I did, I paid $500 for a unit, and I paid $200 to have them put in, $700. And if I had a new unit put in, you're looking at $1,800, $2,000 just for the outdoor unit alone. So it's a big savings. So keep me informed on that. And a couple more things before we leave. Always check your thermostat, guys. That's one simple fix that people forget. Your thermostat can actually go bad and not be sending the voltage out here. But if you remember, if you're getting voltage out here on those little wires that come from the thermostat that I showed you before, right, in my other video, if you're getting voltage out here that's 24 volts, sending volt to the board, then your thermostat's probably good. But that doesn't mean it's not sending the signal at the wrong time or one of those cases. So always check your thermostat too. Make sure your fan's in the auto mode, not on. Don't ever leave your fan on the on position, because that means the fan out here will run continuously, and the fan inside will run continuously, rather. Don't ever do that. Put your fan on auto mode so everything kicks off and on like it's supposed to. And, you use emergency heat when it's below freezing, and use regular heat when it's between freezing and the temperature, springtime or whatever. So I hope this has helped you. And again, you can do the Freon. You can check it, partner. You can look on your cover there. If you can find the gauges, go ahead and do that. I'll link some for you in this video, and I'll try my best to show you what I'm talking about on the gauge. There's two gauges. The left side is going to be blue. That stands for low. The right side is going to be red gauge. That stands for high. And actually, I'm going to pause this video. I've got a set of car gauges, and it'll kind of show you. So give me just a second, and I'll show you. Okay, we're right here at my garage. Disregarding the mess, I'm doing a lot of work right now, and I've got to reorganize my garage at some point in time. People make fun of me, but it's okay. So this is a set of car gauges, and this is what I mean. These gauges will say right here, it says AC manifold gauge set. You cannot use this to check your the Freon in your heat pump, right? Unless it says R134A, which I highly doubt. But anyway, R134A is for cars. But what I want to show you is all the gauges, no matter what Freon type they're for, are made exactly the same. I mean, exactly the same. Now, so what you'll have, this is your gauges right here, right? You got blue side, red side. Blue side, it says right on this knob, right? What does that say? That says low side, right? What does that say? High side. Red's always high, blue's always low. And that means low pressure, high pressure, like we saw. And here's your hoses. So what you'll do to use this, all you need to do is close this valve off. Close this valve off. Put your blue hose on over here. Actually, the red one. Let me show you this. I want to walk you through this because this gentleman's having so much trouble. For you guys that's done this before, please just bear with us here. This is for somebody who hadn't done this before, and so he's just needing some information. And I'm trying my best to help you out any way I can. I want you to get this fixed as cheap as possible. And so what we're going to do is we're going to put this gauge on this little fitting down here, the blue side gauge. Now I actually didn't put this little rubber coating on the wrong side. It doesn't really matter. It really goes right here. This red stopper should be okay. There. See that straighter valve? So you put your blue hose on that. Remember, this won't work for a heat pump. I'm just showing you how to use these. You put this hose on here, right? You're going to shut this valve all the way. You're going to turn your heat pump on, make sure it's running, put it in cool mode, and make sure the air conditioner's running. And you want to screw this on that fitting I showed you on the heat pump outside. Remember the low size fitting I showed you? You're going to screw this on there, all right? Then, once the heat pump's running, this blue hose screwed in good. Remember to keep this shut off. You don't need this side at all. You're going to open it slowly, right? So I'm going to do this to show you the picture. And let's pretend this is for the R410A. Let's pretend it is, right? So see these numbers here? This is what I'm talking about. You want that needle to be between 50 and 70, somewhere in that area. Between 60 and 70 is perfect. A little below 60 is getting a little on the low side. Below 50, you need Freon. Above 80 is too much Freon. You want to drop it down. That's just for the low pressure side. Now, there's going to be a lot of guys going here and dispute me over that. They can all they want to, but they know in their hearts I'm telling you the truth. High pressure side, it can be measured and it's accurate under certain temperatures and under certain conditions, and that's fine and dandy. I don't want to get in that big discussion. We're simple thing trying to find out whether or not you've got enough Freon in that system. Use your gauges, buy the gauges that fits the R rating on your the Freon rating on your heat pump. Right? For my heat pump, it's going to be 410A, so I would need a set of gauges that says 410A. It works the same. Sometimes you'll have a valve over here. Sometimes you'll have a valve where this one is. It doesn't matter. Shut that valve off. Turn it all the way off. Plug your line in. Plug this into the heat pump while it's running, while the heat pump's running. All right, screw it on the fitting and on the heat pump. Then slowly open this. All right, slowly open it and watch that needle climb. If the needle doesn't climb at all, that means you don't have any Freon at all, which is what I'm going to suspect on your unit, sir. I think your Freon's completely gone, and along with the oil that lubricates your compressor. I think your compressor went shot, lost all its oil, and in which case it would have lost all its Freon as well. If you want to buy your set of gauges, or maybe you know somebody you can rent them from for a day, some tool stores will even rent these gauges for you, and that's fine. And make sure they're the right R rating or Freon for your heat pump. I can't stress that enough. If you use the wrong gauges, you're not going to get the right reading because those gauges are tuned, right, for that Freon. All Freon has different consistency, different volumetric pressures, and different weights. If you use the wrong gauge, you're going to get a wrong reading. You're not going to know what your Freon level is. So make sure you get the right gauge. And if you even see here on my gauge down here, you'll see right on that blue gauge, what does that say down there? It tells you exactly what that's for. R134A down on the bottom numbers, right there at the tip of my finger. The red one tells you the same thing, what that's for. So you got to make sure you use the right gauges, okay? And I hope this has helped you, sir. I said I was going to link some pictures, but I remembered I had these. So I don't need to link no pictures. All the gauges work exactly the same, no matter if it's for car, no matter for a heat pump, whatever. They work exactly the same. It's just the gauges are designed for different Freon types, right? And so I have these valves here. This is something different. Don't worry about that. This is what we're concerned about. And if you have any more questions, I hope this has helped you. And I'm afraid, though, you do have a bad compressor. And I pray that you get it fixed. And if you have any more questions, leave them in the comments and I'll try my best. And a final note, I hope everybody that's stuck around this long, I hope you will comment what I'm about to ask you. This is ending my series on the heat pumps. I mean, I've done about everything I could do on them. There's a few other things that's more complicated, but for a DIY, I really don't want to get into them because you're going to need to do the other stuff I would tell you about, you'd need a AC guy doing for you anyway. So there's no point going over that stuff. So this is the end of my videos on the heat pump. I'm trying to find out my next series. So I'm asking all my people who watch, please comment and tell me what you would like for me to do. I can give you my background. I work in the healthcare field right now. I'm a technician in the healthcare field. But besides that, I have over 3,000 hours trained in electricity. So I have extensive background in electrical work. I have an extensive background in electronics, building components, putting them together, all the testing these things too. I also have an extensive background in plumbing. I have I've built houses from the ground up and turnkey. So I'm asking you guys. I can work on cars. I've built engines. I've built engines to race. I've done quite a few. My friends tell me I'm a jack of all trades, master of none, and that probably is the best description of me. I'm not perfect at anything, but I can do a little bit of everything. So I'm asking you guys, what you guys need to know. I mean, I'm not saying I would know it, but I would be willing to try. So give me some input. Let me know what you'd like to see next, what kind of series you'd like to see me do. I thought about doing some tool reviews, but there's so many people doing those. And just like the heat pump stuff, there's so many people doing heat pump stuff that's way better than me. And so I'm trying to find something, I can help you guys with. A simple man's fix. That's my whole motto. A simple man's fix. Something to save us all money, something to help each and every one of us spread the knowledge around. If we can help you all save a buck, that's what I'm after. So I put those garage doors up myself. So if anything you want me to, I wired this garage, electrical, and wired it myself. I ain't finished yet. Obviously, it looks a mess, but uh, give me some ideas. I'm looking for ideas. I've been trying to think of something I could do next for everybody. Something I can weld. I'm not good at it though. There's way more better welders than me. So please don't ask me to do welding videos because I'm no good at it. But give me some ideas, and I would try my best to put a series together for y'all to help everyone. And whatever I get the most votes on, that's what I'll try to do. And if I don't get any votes, I'll just try to come up with something on my own. But I would prefer you guys. This is your channel. You tell me what you want to see, what you need help with, and I want to do it. Okay. I can also, by the way, I have a degree in logging and forestry, hydrology, and forestry technology. Uh, I can do surveying, GPS mapping. So anything you think you may need, let me know, and I'll try to do a series on it. A lot of equipment I want to have on some things, like these gauges. I don't have the right gauges, but I can usually put something together to get you through it. But yeah, please give me some feedback. Let me know what you'd like to see. I hope you guys have a blessed day. I'll try to upload this as quick as possible for that gentleman. And I wish you all the best luck, sir. I hope you get your heat pump fixed. This is Wayne signing out. God bless you.